Good morning. Welcome to this service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Thomas Gregg, and I will be your worship associate for this morning. Our community is striving to become as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you are, whoever you have been, and whoever you are becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here now. We no longer require that masks be worn in worship or in concurrent religious education. If you are feeling sick, we encourage you to join us from home on YouTube. Based on our last poll, UUCT members are committed to being fully vaccinated and boosted. For all of our sakes, especially those most vulnerable, please let's maintain that commitment. If you need to use the bathroom, there are 2 gender-inclusive bathrooms through the door. To your left, down the hallway, and it's on the first left. I extend a special welcome to visitors and invite you to fill out a guest information card, which are located in the Welcome Center to your left and behind you, and in the newcomers section of the website. We will meet for social hour after the service. There is a lunch, but we'll say more about that in a second. Right here in the Goddard social hour, there will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, and some snacks, and of course, good company. And I will turn it over to Reverend Bethany for some announcements.
Good morning. We will have care card creation and social hour today at one of the tables. Jamelia will be setting up the yellow table. Jamelia will be setting up space to make a care card. Make one for someone you know, and then make one to leave with the care team. We'll send it to someone in the community when they need it. Are you feeling called to officially join our community? Meet me and the membership team in the Welcome Center behind you and to your left after worship or right after worship, and there will be an opportunity to sign the membership book. First, before this next announcement, can we give a rounding rouse of applause for the auction team and everyone who helped put together that tonight's auction. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Kitchen Ministry. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, everyone who helped with that auction. It takes a lot of people to make that happen. It was a fun night, was it? Oh, thank you, our entertainers, too. Tom and Cassandra and Alicia for helping put on entertainment. More of that. That would be fun. There are leftovers from the auction, and so if you would like lunch, it's a finger food lunch, you can pay $5, and our kitchen ministry will feed you some leftovers from the auction. And related to the auction, the leftover items are at discount prices, bid, and you could take something home today. There are still a few dinners open. Not all the dinner places were taken, so if that's what you had your eye on and you didn't get one or didn't make it, go right after social hour or during the offertory. And your board president, Wendy Gordon-Weeks, has an announcement from the board.
I actually have 2. The first is really little and fast. So board meetings are every 3rd Sunday of the month, and we would like you to be able to come talk to us before the board meetings. So every 2nd Sunday of the month, which is today, we'll be sitting in coffee hour at this front table, this green table, if you want to talk to your board members, and that'll be happening every month. And then, as many of you are aware, there are 7 principles, including the inherent worth and dignity of all people, that UU congregations affirm and promote. And after study and discussion, an 8th principle was proposed, and more than 200 UU congregations have adopted it. And we adopted it in May 2021. By adopting the 8th principle, we agreed to promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. That's the language of the principle. And we want to live into this commitment. So the Board of Trustees has charged the 8th Principle Holding Group, which includes Steve Kranak, Maura Raffensperger, Bob Gordon, Jan Mulder, Natasha Warner, and Celeste Rogers to help our congregation through this work. Will you stand up, please? So in the coming months, they will be meeting with various groups and staff to help those groups consider what that group has done to further the goals of the 8th principle, working to dismantle racism and other oppressions, as well as to set priorities for future actions. So the 8th principle holding team will also work to seek input from the congregation at large, and they'll be reporting back to you and to the board. So we wanted to let you know we're excited for this work to move forward, and we're very grateful.
Our words for call to worship come from my colleague Sharon Wiley. She writes, "Everything is falling apart, like compost, disintegrating. Everything broken and failing, turning, transforming. Our world, rich with disintegration and possibility. Here is where we come to dream of the garden. Here is where we plant and plan for a new world, new growth, new ways of being. This hour, a germination, a time for new life to take hold of us so that we too are made new. We too are turned and transformed, nourished here by song and story and music and dreams. Come, let us worship together." And would you join in our words of chalice lighting as Mel lights our chalice? This one, rather than me saying the plain words and you saying the italics, I'm going to have this word, our words. Some of these words we need to say, and some of them we need to hear. So, if you're sitting at a table, would you please read the plain font? And if you're sitting in a row, would you please read the italicized words? I'll read everything so that you hear it. Tables, welcome all who seek renewal in a weary world. Welcome all who come with love and energy to share. Welcome to those who worry for the future. Welcome each one who is grateful for today. Know that in this place you are not alone. In community, we share our strength with one another, and we keep the flame of love burning bright. Know that in this place, responsibility is shared. Here, tradition holds us. Ancestors shine a light from the past. Here, the young lift their bright faces and beckon us onward. Take my hand, and we can go on together.
Now that you've practiced a little back and forth, we're going to sing a back and forth. The opening song this morning, Now Let Us Sing, has two parts to it, and you can choose either. The words on the top left part of are the lower part, and I'll be singing that. The words on the top right are the higher melody, and Tom will be singing that. And choose one. One word changes, so even though it looks like it's all the same, the slide, one word changes. The first word will be faith, then hope, then love, then joy. So the song is different on each slide if it looks the same. Jump in, stand as you are able, and jump in as you can. Now let us sing.
Sing to the
Sing.
power of the
Sing, sing, now let us sing.
Sing to the
Sing,
power of the
sing, sing, lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the
Sing, sing, now let us sing. Sing, lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing. Sing, sing, now let us sing. Sing, lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing. Sing to the power of the sing, now let us sing. Sing to the power of the sing, lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Thank you. Please be seated.
Go from one to the next. Our earth is strong. It can hold our pain and our joy, our love and our anger. Our shared bowl, which we use for joys and sorrows each week, is strong enough to hold the big rocks, our collective celebrations and mournings, and also the smaller stones that will be added to signify our individual joys and sorrows. Let us remember the desert people who came first in this place. We honor them, the Hohokam, the Yavapai, the Tohono O'odham, the Yaqui, and the people who no longer exist as tribal entities here in Arizona. We who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining and scarce resource. Let's remember those who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. We also bring to mind those who are seeking to assure greater access to water in the desert. We pour water from a plastic jug similar to the ones used by our ministry partner, No More Deaths. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, I invite you to go to menti.com and put in the code 4347226. If you are here in the sanctuary and need help adding your thoughts to Menti, Brian Moon can help you do that. And if you are here in person, I invite you to come up to the table and create ripples of hope by putting a stone into the water to symbolize your joy or sorrow. Please form a line down the middle aisle and return to your seat using the outside aisles. Here are our Menti responses. It was a joy to spend time with so many of us at our auction last night. Many thanks and much appreciation for the creativity and hard work that made it happen. Indeed, indeed. I felt joy at having found this community. I can attest to that. I saw one of my childhood UU friends this week. We've been friends for over 30 years and met at church. Very nice. Love hearing the voices gathered here today. Joy for great new challenges in my life and sorrow for relationships that find myself without word or actions to repair. Water is flowing down from snow-covered Catalinas. Love that. I saw one of my childhood UU friends. Yes, we saw that. Great. I got to spend time with my dad today. We have so much fun together. Excellent. And joy in experiencing hope again. Hope for a brighter future, hope for new beginnings, hope for connections within our hearts that bring us together in a human experience for many generations to come. And finally, a new job and new future. Wonderful. Our words for prayer, contemplation, and meditation today are from Reverend Dr. Lynn Ungar's poem, A Letter in Return. She writes, "And how do you live, and what are your fears during this crisis? What questions to surface after midnight from across the world? In your country, is it the time of day to wrestle all the existential and daily dreads, until, like Jacob and the vicious angel, they conceded to bless us? I am afraid that people I love will die. I'm afraid that my child is inheriting a world so much harsher than what she deserves. I'm afraid that desperate times call for desperate measures, and I am not quite desperate enough. Should I go on? I am afraid that people have wandered away from the very idea of truth. I'm afraid we have unlearned how to speak and how to listen. I'm afraid the fabric that holds us together is woven more loosely than I thought, and people keep slipping through. And how do you live? With grief, with fear, with laughter, with boredom, with glee, with contentment, with fury, with hope, with the firm conviction that no thing cancels any other thing out. Death does not cancel life, grief does not cancel joy, fear does not cancel conviction, nor any of those statements in reverse. Make your heart a bowl that is large enough to hold it all. Imagine that you are the potter. Stretch the clay, cherish the turning wheel. Accept that the bowl is never going to be done.
Would you please join me in song 1006 in the Teal hymnal? If you have those, but the words will be on the screen. In my quiet sorrow.
Hopelessness will not let me
Our reading today is The Gates of Hope from Reverend Victoria Safford. Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope, not the prudent gates of optimism, which are somewhat narrower, not the stalwart, boring gates of common sense, nor the strident gates of self-righteousness, which creak on shrill and angry hinges. People cannot hear us there, they cannot pass through. Nor the cheerful, flimsy garden gate of everything is gonna be all right. But a different people, what we are seeing, asking people what they see. Some of you've read the blurb for this service, seen the title, and are sitting there saying, Rev, what does this have to do with hope? It may not come as a surprise to many of you that the population, the membership of Protestant congregations has been in decline for at least 30 years. Unitarian Universalism took a while to catch up with that downward trend, and it was holding steady for a while. But in the past 8 years or so, we have too joined that decline, albeit at a slower rate. There has been 1 year since the 1990s when our congregation saw more visitors and more new members than in any of the other 30 years, though. This is recounted anecdotally by ministers. Anyone guess what that year was? The year started in the fall of 2016, right after the presidential election that year. We ministers call this phenomenon, wait for it, the Trump bump. Some of you are still sitting there saying, Rev, what does any of this have to do with hope? Reverend Dr. James Luther Adams, we've heard his name before this spring, was a 20th century theologian and activist and incredibly influential in both arenas. Today is the second in a series of sermons this winter and spring on the 5 smooth stones of liberal religions as attributed to Reverend Adams, who wrote that, quote, liberalism holds that the resources, divine and human, that are available for the achievement of meaningful change justify an attitude of ultimate optimism. I think it was in great part this desire for resources to achieve meaningful change and embody an attitude of optimism that led many to flock to our congregations in 2016 and beyond. Leading up to and in the aftermath of that presidential election, the myth of inevitable progress forever and ever was pulled out from under some people, namely upper middle class white liberals. I'll name also many Black, Indigenous, and people of color, many queer folks, many working or lower class folks. That myth had been just that, a myth for a long time, if not forever. Nevertheless, those persons who constituted that Trump bump searched out places to give them a new framework or reason to be optimistic about their future, our future. Some of them found that reason, and others found a reason for a time. I'll be honest with you, I've struggled with hope, and not just since 2016. I'll admit that on my first path of Reverend Dr. Adams's quote, the attitude of ultimate optimism hit me wrong. I wished I hadn't assigned myself to preach on these 5 smooth stones, or at least that I had conveniently skipped hope and no one had noticed. It's not the hoping I struggle with. It's this orientation towards optimism, which in my body can feel like a temptation to not address the harm and trauma and pain of the current moment. How does your hope account for the present realities of hurt and harm and pain? How can we build a hope that is realistic and also optimistic? In 2019, my colleague, Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd, wrote a book called After the Good News, Progressive Faith Beyond Optimism. It's a great read. I preached on it before, so maybe you've read it. Her thesis is this, in her words. Today, the idea of idealism is not enough. Casual optimism rings hollow, and triumphal, self-assured liturgies leave out broken hearts still yearning for the chance to sing together in a minor key. We yearn for an honest word, an opportunity to hold our shared grief and deep personal brokenness together in community. The liberal church is being called to a new way of being, a less self-assured but equally faithful approach to living and serving in these times. For Reverend MacDonald Ladd, a new way of being requires a new way of understanding hope. And to orient us, she invokes Progressive Baptist minister Reverend Miguel de la Torre when discussing this definitional shift for hope. She writes, De la Torre begins his definitive takedown of the progressive view, I love that phrase, definitive takedown of the progressive view of history by reminding us that the English meaning of hope implies a kind of pausing in anticipation of something good that is about to be revealed. It is the breath before the upward motion, the stop on the way to inevitable wholeness. The Spanish translation of hope gives a different meaning. To hope is translated as esperar, a word that asks us to wait in apprehension of either good or evil. This shift from waiting before something good's going to happen to waiting in apprehension of good or evil might seem subtle, but it offers a dramatic shift in what we do with our hope now. If we think of hope as preparing us for a better world or a worse one, whatever those things mean to us, we are more motivated to address the injustices in our midst. It becomes a responsibility, an ethical drive to do so. Hope in this sense isn't that casual optimism. It is the fuel that keeps us believing for a better world tomorrow and acting to make the world better today. One of the things that Reverend MacDonald Ladd advises we do to start addressing injustices, to follow the advice of Reverend Dr. James Luther Adams, to whom the smooth stone of hope is attributed. In his essay, A Little Lower Than Angels, he advises that rather focusing on abstract concepts like justice and love, he urges us to, quote, become more personally acquainted with the actual conditions, with the people around us, and especially with those who are suffering. This reminded me and Reverend MacDonald Ladd of Brian Stevenson's call to get proximate. I know some of you know that reference. Get close to the pain. Come to know it not through news stories and anecdotes, but through your own relationships. Root your activity in the knowledge of not just injustice, but pain and hurt of real people you are in relationship with, people you know, maybe yourself too. In order to know how to orient our hope in this moment, we must know and feel the actual pains that we and people around us are experiencing. Which led me to wonder how we can get proximate in these days to those migrants who are camping along our border, the first step in their asylum process. How can we get proximate to the humanitarian aid workers who are supporting them, especially in light of right-wing presence along our border? How do we get proximate to our transgender siblings, youth and adults, whose rights are being denied or threatened here at home and many states away? How do we get proximate to the people with uteruses who are being denied the right to an abortion, a basic health care need, here at home and many states away? We can't just sign away any of these things by petition, and we can't just vote the pain away. Although signing petitions and voting are good things, helpful things to do, we also have to get close to the pain of the present moment and do what we can here and now to address that pain. This requires us to change, to act, and to have deep, deep hope. Reverend Safford calls this place of listening to the real pains of the world the gates of hope. We heard her describe this place in our reading. She wrote, "The gates of hope is the place of truth-telling about your own soul, first of all, and its condition. The place of resistance and defiance, the piece of ground from which you see the world, both as it is and as it could be, as it will be. The place from which you glimpse not only struggle, but the joy of the struggle. And we stand there, beckoning and calling, telling people what we are seeing, asking people what they see." When was the last time you stood there at those gates of hope? Truth-telling, resisting, defying, and also struggling, finding joy in a struggle. Joy not because it's fun, but because others are there with you, bringing their own truth, their own struggles, their own joy. If Reverend Stafford's words feel like a once-in-a-lifetime moment for you, I invite you to listen to Eve L. Ewing's poem, Eschatology, which came across my desk this week. It makes this type of hope we're leaning into feel a little bit more achievable day to day. She writes, "I'm confident that the absolute dregs of possibility for this society, the sugary coffee mound at the bottom of this cup, our last best hope that when our little bit of assigned plasma implodes, it won't go down as a green mark in the cosmic ledger, lies in the moment when you say hello to a bus driver and they say it back. In that moment when someone holds the door open for you and you do a little jog to meet them where they are. Lies in that moment walking my dog. I used to see this older man, and whenever I said good morning, he replied, great morning. In fact, all the creative ways our people greet each other may be the icing on the flaming trash cake hurtling through the ether. When the clerk says, how are you? And I say, I'm blessed and highly favored. I mean, my toes have met sand and wiggled in it a lot. I mean, I have laughed until I choked and a friend slapped my back. I mean, my niece wrote a note, you are so smart and intelligent. I mean, when we go careening into the sun. I mean, crossing guards ushering the grown folks too like ducklings, and the lifeguards the community pool, and men who yell out the window that they'd fix the dent in my car right now, it'd just take a second. And actually, everyone who tried to keep me alive, keep me afloat, if not unblemished, suitably repaired. But I won't feel too bad about it, becoming a star. As I read this poem, I felt those moments of hope, as in that pause before the possibility of good or evil. Those small moments are pauses of hope. We see goodness in them, and also sometimes pain, sorrow, and fear. If we're being honest, right? If we are being honest about, in Reverend Stafford's words, our own soul and its condition. If we're being honest, if we're honestly seeing, feeling the condition of the soul we are interacting with. Can we bring that honesty to our relatedness, to our interactions, to ourselves? If we can bring, and the humility required to really hear another's honesty. If we can practice these things, I think we can cultivate a hope that isn't overly optimistic or desperately pessimistic, but is grounded in what is real. Can we trust that that honesty won't break us? Can we trust that the honesty will carry us forward together? Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd, at the end of her book, says that the new posture that progressive congregations need to take is one of lamentation and atonement, which are big minister words, religious speak, for holding space for deep sorrows in our life and our world, and seeking repair, personally and collectively, for our part in those wrongs. Lamentation, that holding space for deep sorrows, requires us to be honest about ourselves and our world. We all carry sorrow. And atonement, naming and claiming our personal and collective part in the circumstances that led to those sorrows, requires a deep commitment to action and profound integrity. But together, lamentations and atonement create hope. To lament and to atone create the actual conditions for us to pause before a future that could be great or could be pretty not great, to assess that current state of the world, to recognize where we need to change and where the world needs to change, and to move forward together. Liberalism holds that the resources, divine and human, that are available for the achievement of meaningful change justify an attitude of ultimate optimism. The words sound different without the myth of inevitable progress. The tools of lamentation, atonement, can help us create that meaningful change in our world. Because people still flock to progressive churches with hearts broken open. I see it and hear it every Sunday. They come with their lamentations. Every Sunday, a new lament searching for hope walks in the door. If we are to be a place that allows people to grapple with the sorrows of the world without the empty promise of everything's going to be all right, we need our hope to have the fuel of some atonement, of taking responsibility and accountability for what we have done to contribute to injustice and divisions and oppressions in the world, and also for what we need and what we need to do to make things right. Only from that place can we build that better world we dream of. Only from that place can we keep gathering in hope and possibility in love. May we make it so. Blessed be, and amen.
And now an offering will be collected to support the life and work of our congregation. If you are joining us on live stream, you can send a check to the office or give online at uuctucson.org/donate. If you are here in person, the ushers will come around now with offering baskets to collect your donations.
We have a responsive song that is based on Eric Bogle's Courage, our final hymn today. It has a back and forth line to it, and the lyrics, I'll sing a word, and you'll sing a word or two. You'll catch it really fast, some of you know it. Welcome, my friends. You do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. One more time, please. Welcome, welcome, my friends. You do not walk alone. We will walk with you, and sing your spirit home.
Thank you. I got my pen. Can we revisit that first quote? We've heard it twice, but I want to hear it again. From James Luther Adams. It says, liberation holds that resources are available for the achievement of meaningful change, an attitude of ultimate optimism. There's more in the paragraph, though. Progress is now seen not to take place through inheritance, not from generation to generation, but each generation anew must win insight into the ambitious nature of human existence, and must give new relevance to moral and spiritual values, generation after generation. A realistic appraisal of our behavior, personal and institutional, and a life of continuing humility and renewal are demanded for there to be ever-present forces in working for preservation and destruction. So generation after generation, we must do this work. So we've thought a lot about hope, and I have a story for us today, and I'm going to ask you a question, and at the end, I'm going to ask you, when I'm done with the story, where you might hear there's hope. Okay? We're all ready? Okay, here's the story. This is a once upon a time story, which means it might be true, it might not be true, it might be a little bit more than true. And it comes from a lot of different traditions, so you can find it all over the place, and here's how it goes. Once upon a time, back in the days when pots and pans and other household implements could talk, and they probably still can if you listen hard enough, there lived a man. In order to have water, this man every day had to walk down to the river, use his pots, and carry the 2 pots back up to his house so that he could have water. One day, it was discovered that one of the pots had a crack down it. And as time went on, and he went down every day to the creek to get his water, and he carried the water back to his house, the crack got wider and wider and wider. And pretty soon, the pot realized it was cracked. And the pot turned to the man and said, you know, every day you take me to the river, and every day I lose at least half my water on the way back to the house. It is time for you to get a better pot. And the man said, but you don't understand. As you spill, you water the wildflowers, those things that grow that I can't keep alive because I have a black thumb, right? They grow in the wild and they're beautiful. And he says, you water the wildflowers every day by spilling your water on the ground. And look at the other side of the hill, it is barren, where no water has spilled. Now, that's the story. Where is there hope in this story? Who brings us hope? My friend.
When he waters the plants.
When he waters the plants, there's hope. Where else is there hope? Where else is there hope in this story? Carrying the buckets. Why? Because he keeps doing it, right? He's hopeful. Every day he goes down to the river, I'm going to get water. Where else is there hope, Steve?
There's hope for the part of the land that is not yet grown out.
Oh, there's hope for the barren side of the land. There might be wildflowers. Bert?
There's hope for value in broken places.
There is hope for value in broken places. Frank?
That was the second.
Hope for value in broken places. 2 votes for that. Burley? Hope for the river. Hope that there is clean water for this man to drink. Other hope? So as we leave from this place today, I want to ask you 2 things. Who in your life sees your cracks and knows that what spills out of you is going to bring beauty in this world? And how do you share your hope into this world as we go forth today? Thank you. Thank you.
You've already had a taste of our last hymn, Courage. Please rise as you are able. Similar to before, it is back and forth. I'll sing a word and ask you to respond. and sing your spirit home. Vision, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you, and sing your spirit home. Please be seated.
I will now read our closing words, which from this morning come from Emily Richards, and she writes, "May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves."
Monday's your day. He'll be here. Maureen and